there is something I really want to talk about because I feel like I've been seeing it so much over the last months, maybe even years, that a lot of people are going back from their social media and just deleting it completely. And I personally deleted my social media a few years back as well. So I thought it might be interesting to go over some pros and cons of deleting your socials. And I'm gonna do so while having my dinner. Today's lineup may be a bit random, but I have a spinach and broccoli soup. It is super vibrant and green, and I already tried it. It is so good. And then I have chicken satay over here as well because protein. So a quick bit about my backstory is that I deleted my social media a little over 3 years ago. I believe that I deleted my Instagram somewhere in July of 2023. And I remember really, really well that I did this on a walk with my mom, or like right before the walk I went on with my mom, because I struggled a lot with using my phone too much, like way too much. And Instagram was one of the things that I used so much. And I was just so fed up with it. I don't know if you've seen my video about sobriety, but it's kind of a similar thing where I just kept doing the thing, as in I kept scrolling so much, spending so much time on my phone, and then regretting it after, and then like repeating the cycle over and over again. So I decided it was time for a change, and I decided to delete my Instagram account. I had been active on there for a lot of years. I think I downloaded it back when it still had the old logo, and when it was still really, really basic, where you had the blue little line at the top in the app, if that makes any sense. And then since COVID, so I'd say like 2019, 2020, I also made a TikTok account, and I had like a few TikToks on there. Nothing too crazy. I've always been more of a consumer than a creator. And the day that I decided to delete my Instagram account, I also deleted my TikTok. But I have to explain a little something about TikTok, because I deleted it for a long time. I think years that I deleted it for. But eventually I downloaded it again. And this was because I travel full time now. And with traveling, sometimes I just wanted to look at like fun places to have dinner, or like nice cafes. And I just noticed that it was more difficult without TikTok than with it, because there's just so many good tips on there. So that's when I decided to get TikTok again. And I believe at first I did have an account, like a random one with user so and so. But then I ended up using it a lot again. And this is a pattern for me, I know. So I decided to delete it again. And then a little while after, I downloaded it again. But then you could download it without any account. So I just did that, which kind of made it easier for me to use it a bit less at first. Because then you cannot look at the... Like, you can like things, you can share things. You can't look at comments of other comments often, which is kind of annoying, because those are like the fun parts of TikTok. So at first that kind of restricted me in using it more, but eventually I just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So I kind of went back and forth with it, deleting it, downloading it, deleting it, and downloading it again. And as you've probably seen from my previous videos, I have struggled a lot still with doom scrolling and just spending too many hours on TikTok. So a few weeks ago, I decided to delete it again. And I haven't scrolled since. I haven't felt the need to scroll since, which is amazing. So that is a little bit of the backstory on my socials. With socials, I just mean Instagram and TikTok. I still have a Snapchat because all my memories are in there, and I have a few friends that still are on Snapchat, so I don't really want to delete that. And then I have my YouTube, of course. And I am a big YouTube consumer as well. I love to watch long form videos. So I'm not counting YouTube as my socials. So first, let's talk a little bit about the cons of social media, because I feel like, for me personally at least, there are so many more pros than cons, which is why, for example, Instagram, I haven't downloaded it again since I deleted it. And the first con, I really have to admit, doom scrolling is just a mechanism. And the feeling of needing that quick dopamine, it will manifest in another way. At least that's how it was for me. So for example, I had periods where I was really binging on long form content, or I had periods where I would be snacking a lot more, or I would even be spending a lot of time scrolling on LinkedIn, even though it's not really something I truly enjoy watching. Or also YouTube Shorts. No offense to YouTube, I love YouTube, but YouTube Shorts is just not it for me. So basically, the con is that doom scrolling will always find a replacement. At least that's how it was for me. And that's exactly why I try to be really aware of what my body needs now. So sometimes I crave that quick dopamine hit when I'm either tired, not feeling very well, maybe I'm just having a bad day. And those are the moments that I'd want to grab either a snack, or I would want to scroll on my phone, for example. And social media wasn't really the option for me. So now I just really, really, in those cases, try to think of what my body needs. Maybe I just need a nourishing meal. Maybe I just need a nap. Then something else that is kind of like a con is that from people that I am not too close with to talk on WhatsApp a lot, for example, I just can't see their highlights anymore, as in engagements, pregnancy announcements, maybe birthdays that are a bit further away than my own calendar, or like someone getting a new job or starting a new business, or like really nice highlights that I would love to see. One way I try to fix this is with the birthdays. I just really try to have everyone in my calendar. So that fixes a lot of the problem, because I just always know when it's someone's birthday rather than seeing it on socials, which I also feel like is more personal anyways. And my boyfriend does have an Instagram, so sometimes when he sees like really big things that maybe he thinks I haven't seen or heard of before, then he'll tell me, which is perfect. One other reason I am really grateful for my boyfriend having an Instagram is because he can connect with everyone that we meet during traveling. Sometimes the only reason I would want to make an Instagram account is just to be able to add everyone on Instagram that we meet during traveling, because we have met so many incredible people that I would love to keep in touch with and I'd love to stay connected with. So that is one really big con for me personally, but I do feel like that's fixed for me because my boyfriend adds everyone on Instagram, and like if I ever want to reach out or if I ever want to make another Instagram account, I can still follow all of the people that we met. But I have to admit, I also exchanged WhatsApp numbers with a lot of people that I met during traveling. So I feel like that way I also have a more personal connection to them as well, and like we can keep each other up to date on WhatsApp, which is like a lot more personal. Because I had been thinking about this, if I did have Instagram and I would, for example, see their stories and post, I would maybe be a lot more likely to just like their post or comment on them rather than really having a good WhatsApp conversation or sending voice notes or maybe even calling. So I feel like actually it is a con, but now to me it's also kind of like a pro because it makes my connections more personal. And then one last con that I have is that I am not in on the jokes anymore. I love TikTok humor and I think it's so funny. But now all the like the brain rot jokes and the inside stuff, I just can't keep up anymore because I don't watch any of it. And sometimes when I did have TikTok, I would like see glimpses of trends, but I would see like half of it, or maybe I'd see it like later when it wasn't relevant anymore. So I was always a bit scared that I would feel like left out, like an outsider, because I didn't know any of the jokes anymore. But honestly, it's so fine. I feel like it's a valid thing to think about, maybe scared to be a bit left out of all the jokes, because TikTok humor was like such a funny thing me and some of my friends had, and we just had so many like memes we could cite, or just funny little things we could say or do or express that would really make us laugh so hard because it was like an inside TikTok joke. So those I don't really have anymore, but I mean, me and my friends can still laugh about anything else. So it is kind of sad, but it's also fine. Now, let's move on to the pros, because I have so much to talk about. First and foremost, no crazy headaches, no tired eyes. Such a big one for me. Because when I doom scroll, and then when I doom scroll, I scroll for hours and hours, even with these blue light lenses or glasses, and these work really, really well. um, I can still get such a headache from the scrolling and like from all the stimulants, if that's how you say it. And especially my eyes. My eyes will get so tired and like this dry feeling, this fatigued feeling, which is so annoying and takes a long time also to recover, I feel. And the funny thing is, because then I'm scrolling all day, I'm glued to my phone. I feel that I'm getting the headache and I feel that my eyes are tired. And yet I still keep picking up the phone because there's like super glue in between. Then something else, comparison, and this is such a huge one for me. And then I mean comparison in, for example, beauty standards, but also just in other people's highlights and social life, for example. um, you know, you would see people online and you're like, oh, I wish I had that body, I wish I had their face, their style, stuff like that. And I do remember that I was like that as well. I could get pretty insecure when I see other people online just looking their best. And nothing to them. I mean, that's amazing. But it just was like an insecurity of mine. And I would compare myself to other people. And not only with the way that they looked and the way that I look, but also just in highlights, things people were doing. Then I'd see people hanging out together and I wasn't there. And I would just feel really bad about it, and it would just leave me close the app feeling super, super empty. Even though my life is filled with so many lovely people and like really, really dear and close connections and like really deep connections. So I guess it just made me feel really empty for no reason because I didn't really have a reason to feel empty. But when you see other people's highlights or social life or the things that they're doing, you're just, at least I was, automatically comparing mine to theirs. And like, oh, but they're all hanging out and I'm not. Or they're all doing this together and I'm not. Yeah, so I think that's something that really got to me as well. And something else that I didn't write down, but now that I'm thinking of it as well, I, same with the comparison, but I would really hang my value up to whether or not people would like my post or interact with my post. For example, and this, now that I'm saying it, it feels so silly, but sometimes when people would normally like and comment on posts of mine, when I would see them like the post but then not comment, I could feel so bad about that. And I could completely be like, oh my gosh, they dislike me, they hate me, they're mad at me, or something like that. And it would just drive me crazy. And yeah, it was just not a good place to be in. Then another pro that I have is more confidence. And first off, because of like the lack of comparison that I have now, I have more confidence in my own opinions, but also in the way that I look. I have more confidence in my intuition. And I also notice that I have more confidence in public, especially when I intentionally try to not be on my phone. Something else that I noticed after I deleted my socials was I was a lot less anxious and I had more peace of mind because there's no messages to check, there's no like things to look at, there's no like brain rot hole I can fall into. There's no temptation, I would say. So I feel like I just have a lot more peace of mind. Also, since I'm not being stimulated the entire time, I just have a bit more calmness in my days and like it's all a bit slower. So I just feel like that really helps me be a bit less anxious and not all the way there because anxiety is still something that I really struggle with from a day-to-day basis, but at least the social media part of it got removed from the equation. I also don't feel agitated anymore after a long doom scrolling session, which is fantastic because often when I was doom scrolling for so long, I already felt disappointed in myself and frustrated with myself. And then coming out of this doom scrolling bubble, I just felt so annoyed. And any little thing that I had to do, or like maybe I'd have to talk, or my boyfriend would say something to me, poor guy, I would get so annoyed because I was just in this really negative headspace. And something else that comes to mind with that is that I feel more connected now, just to life in general, because sometimes after one of those long doom scrolling sessions, I just felt super disconnected. And when I'd come out of that bubble, then I would realize that I'm here and I would look around, but I wouldn't feel like I'm physically here, like I'm not physically present, which is a really interesting experience, but not one that I particularly prefer. And now I think one of the biggest pros that I've experienced is that I don't waste so many hours on my phone anymore. And I do still spend time on my phone, but in a different way. And I feel like now that I don't have any socials, as in I don't have Instagram and TikTok, I scroll and I'm on my phone a bit less, especially compared to the days when I would have a doom scroll session of like hours. And I was just thinking there's so much more that I can do with my day other than scrolling, because scrolling doesn't really get me anywhere. Scrolling doesn't get me anything. And I especially just felt like I wasted so many precious hours that I could have spent on something more fulfilling and more like living a present life. And that also goes with less brain rot. I have way more focus now for important things like work, for example. I often found it really, really difficult to focus on work. But now, for example, in the morning, I just leave my phone on the charger and I'm just not on it. And then I just start my morning, I start working, and I just have so much more focus and clarity. And it's just amazing. And now that I think of it, there's one more that is, I think, one of the biggest cons for me personally. So what me and my friends do is we often send each other a lot of messages on WhatsApp, and then we can do like a lot of photos and some updates with it. And I feel like when I still had Instagram, I could see all of their pictures on Instagram. But now that I don't have it, I noticed that some of my friends, they just send me pictures on WhatsApp, which I feel like is so personal and so special. So it just feels like in general I have a lot more connection to people, which is really interesting, because you would think when you're deleting your Instagram you would disconnect from the world, but honestly I think I've connected a lot more to my little inner world with my super super good friends and with my family. And I just think that this way of communicating is so much more valuable to me than just a like or a comment on Instagram. And I do have to say that I wonder if I'm ever going to use TikTok again, especially for the search engine, because it's just so useful sometimes. These days I've been just using Google Maps a lot, and I always like to search on Google Maps for things to do and for cafes to visit. So for now I feel like I'm good without TikTok. I personally don't think I would ever, I never say never, but I don't think I would really go back to Instagram, because I just at the moment do not see the value in it for me personally. And maybe a tip that I could share about deleting your social media: just start with deleting it from your phone and go from there. And there's no need to have like specific numbers to it, like I'm gonna delete it for this long, or you can just leave it open and see day by day how it feels. And I think honestly, if you're debating whether or not to maybe also delete your socials, I think maybe when you try it, you're gonna feel a lot freer and it's gonna feel really nice. And with that being said, I really, really hope that this made any sense. I feel like I've been rambling on for a while about a bunch of random, different little topics within deleting my social media, but I hope it makes somewhat sense. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again. I still have so much food to go, so I'm gonna go enjoy my dinner, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.